Om Magana Timarandasyang Gana Gana Salakyam Chaksurun Militam Yanatajmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manavabhistam Stapitam Yana Bhutare Swayam Rupa Karamayam Darati Swaparantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Siyata Parakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavam Scha Sri Rupam Sagaratam Sahagana Raganatam Vitam Stam Sajevam Sadvaitam Savidutam Parijana Sayatam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Paran Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakan Vitam Stam Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Deva Maheshwara Guru Shaksha Parabrahma Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Durgame Pati Miyandasya Skarapate Gana Shaki Prayasana Santu Santu Vidambaram Mukam Kavid Bakariyan Sabarashane Panga Girlangada De Kagaragane Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinu Bandhu Jigapate Gopisha Gopika Kantara Kantana Mustate Jayatam Suruto Pango Mama Mene Matergati Matsavashaparam Bojo Radha Madan Mohanam Siman Rasa Rasarambi Vamsivada Karsan Veneshan Rupi Gopanata Sri Sanam Divyad Vrindaranya Kapadrumata Shrimad Radha Srimad Shanasha Sri Sri Radha Shri Govinda Prestadabi Seva Manushmarami Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmanya Taya Chadikari Taya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha Mangalang Bhagavan Vishnu Mangal Magudadaduja Mangaram Paradikaksho Mangaraya Tanuhi Om Narayanaya Vidmahi Vasadevaya Dhimahi Tano Vishnu Prachodhyatahe Om Mahadevi Chavidmahi Vishnu Padni Chadimahi Tano Lakshmi Prachodhyatahe Mahalakshmi Namastubhyam Namastubhyam Sare Sare Hare Priya Namastubhyam Namastubhyam Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishavanusute Devi Pranamani Hare Priya Subham Karoti Kayaram Ragadana Sambaram Sati Buri Vanasana Deepa Jyoti Namostade Deepa Jyoti Tanardiram Deepa Jyoti Paraparam Deepa Metaruparam Deepa Jyoti Namostute Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutare Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Tanamane Namaste Sarasati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesa Sunivadi Praskata Desatarine Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Javasari Gaur Bhaktavindam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Good morning, Rob. Can you hear me okay? It might be, I might not.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, super.
Good morning.
Super, yeah. Felt so much pumped up after the weekend in Florida that I'm fully prepared to jump back into the morning Bhagavatam classes here. So I'm glad you happened upon us. I had told you before that I might not come on this Monday, but I felt very strongly the urge to do so. So thanks for jumping on board. And all the way from Santa Cruz, Bolivia, we have Brent Spencer also. Can't imagine what time it is there. But thank you. We've been absent on this forum for a couple of weeks anyway. I know a week before the Color Fest, that would have been March 18th, 17th, because of the pressure of getting ready for the big Color Fest in Spanish Fork. And then immediately after, on the 27th, 28th, 29th, we would have given it a miss. And then following weekend as well. So this is coming back to it after about 3-week hiatus. And I think I should bring you up to date on all the circumstances. Brent and Rob were both here, so I needn't refresh your memories on the Spanish Fork event. Although there's a nice article that's come out through ISKCON Communications by Bhakta Thomas, where he gave a nice wrap-up of the event, did his research, number of plates of prasadam distributed, number of books passed out, number of people who attended, temperatures, all the facts and figures, the temperatures, the thunder showers, the snow flurries. This year's Festival of Colors were held under almost the exact polar opposite circumstances from last year's. There were 2 cloudless days, an average temperature of 75 degrees, and we had 20,000 attendees. This year, temperature, I don't think hardly got over 34, 35 degrees. The whole place was, the ground, because of a very, very moist winter and lots of snowfall, the ground was extremely soggy. So it was all we could do not to get vehicles stuck here and there. The ground got all torn up. But we had about 6,500 people, more a singles crowd. Some of the families stayed away because they were concerned about the cold and wet for their kids. There were still a lot there, but not as many as there would have been. So it was more of a singles crowd, and it had that spirit of the old days. When the festival started getting big around 2005, 2006, 7, and 8, it was called the unofficial spring break of BYU. At one point, they estimated 60% of the BYU student body would attend the Festival of Colors. It was all single people looking for an adventure. And so mud and wind and rain just whetted their appetites, which was the case this year. And this year recalled our memories from the early years. Over the course of time, it's become more of a family event, less monopolized by the college student. But this year it was definitely reminiscent of the old days. Then I got invited to Florida for the first Festival of Colors in Fort Lauderdale. The two driving forces behind that are Vasanti and Shamarani, formerly Jadharani. She took Shiksha Guru from Bhaktivinoda Maharaj. They have a nice, vibrant community there in Fort Lauderdale. Lots and lots of really young, talented, professional, enthusiastic people, many, many musicians, kirtan leaders, graphic artists, cooks. Oh my gosh. They are just bursting from the seams. Little tiny rented house, far too small for their needs. And Janardhan also is a friend of those. He spends a lot of time in Miami. Vasanti, I know from when she was based on the West Coast. She used to rent a booth at our Festival of Colors and do their books and paintings, Shamarani's paintings. But the last 2 years, they've been in Fort Lauderdale. So she called me to MC their first Festival of Colors, and they'd also bought a palette of colors from me, which I shipped out to them. I didn't know what to expect. I was very pleasantly surprised. There was a Friday night kirtan before the Color Fest with about 200 people packed in this little temple room. Malini led kirtan, Rasika led kirtan, Janardhan led kirtan. Wonderful, wonderful kirtan. They asked me to speak on an overview of Holi. I spoke and answered questions for the better part of a half an hour. Seemed to have been appreciated by everybody. Then we presented ourselves, myself and my roommate at the Airbnb. His name was Jagannath Das from the Bay Area. No, from Orange County. We presented ourselves before Sri Lokanath, the fixer, the logistic man, at the festival site on Saturday morning about 7:30. And we helped with the setup. It was the main park in downtown Fort Lauderdale. Not very busy on a Saturday. People wouldn't have happened across the festival by accident. They would have had to have known pretty much about it in order to come. We set everything up, big food booth, temple food booth, big art booth, book booth, huge. And then there were at least 15 other vendors selling various natural products. The stage is already there, a big concrete covered stage, kept us in the shade all day long in a nice grass area in front of the stage. And very mature crowd, not so much high school, even college kids. I would say most of the people that came were young professionals. The festival started out with a yoga class by a wonderful yoga teacher named Victoria. And everybody in the audience, there were 30, 40, 50 people who took part in the yoga class. I didn't see any novices. Most of the festivals that I do, it's people that you have to coax and try it for the first time, and it'll be easy, it'll be gentle. Don't worry, anyone can do it. This was a group that could be challenged. They were doing headstands, all kinds of postures with great ease. I was very impressed with the level of expertise of the people that are part of the yoga class. And that was kind of the mood the whole day. It was a more mature audience, mid-30s, I would say, would be a mean age, whereas in our festivals, probably mid-20s would be a mean age. And at first, I was thinking, these guys are pretty sophisticated. I don't know how much we're going to be able to whip them up, incite them, but no problem. After the first color throw, everybody just smiles from ear to ear, and they were ready for anything. So I was doing a lot of call and response. I had a lot of opportunity. I think I have 14 rap songs. I got to perform 7 or 8 of them in full throughout the course of the day. Shamarani particularly liked the one on Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita, Krishna streams to his team member Arjuna, the cream of all the devotees, Arjuna, the things you do every day, the gifts you give, and every tasty veggie dish offered to me of love, and see your soul enriched. Cup of water makes me smile, though I could drink an ocean of flower fruit and leave her fine if they're offered in devotion. Keeping me in the center, your karma will never interfere, because loving devotional service is the dharma of the spiritual atmosphere. I don't play any favorites. Everyone gets what they desire. So if someone longs for me in bhakti, I'm naturally inspired. Even if you mess up a time or two, I won't make any complaint. Just rise up again. You can still shine like a saint. The undiluted souls, Mahatmas, know reality, and feeling my protection, the flow of their affection comes to me. They sing my sacred names with voices sweet and stake their rightful claims at my lotus feet. I see, maintain, and shelter all. I am the seed of it. I am everyone's best friend. I'm the beginning, middle, and end. Arjuna, tell the people boldly, Krishna devotee never dies. Men and women, high and lowly, everyone's equal in my eyes. Anyone who comes to me will never be denied. Bhakti Yoga will set you free. Success is guaranteed. Just think of me, become my devotee, and you will live with me eternally. So just before Shamarani came up to speak for 15 minutes or so, I recited that to some music and asked Malini to do some dance moves, interpretive dance moves. And that was very well. So Shamarani, later on after the festival, she said she thought that was very bona fide, very shastric. My rap version of the Bhagavad Gita captured the highlights very nicely. And she made me promise to send her the lyrics so that she could then copycat me, which is absolutely fine. It's absolutely fine. So I had ample opportunity throughout the day to use my songs, which was extremely gratifying for me. I had one lady, Spanish lady, maybe 40. I think she had kids with her. And she came up to me and she said, I enjoyed the festival, the dancing, the singing, the music, the DJs, the kirtan, the food, the art, everything was wonderful. She said, but I particularly liked your rap songs. So that was my boost for the day, for the week, for the year. And then, probably, I don't know, it wasn't a big crowd, but it was big enough. It was okay. Probably 600-700 people came throughout the day. Like I said, very together people, professional young people who really, really threw themselves into the spirit of the festival. A lot of dancing, a lot of singing, a lot of philosophy, a lot of great conversations, a lot of appreciation, and most of all, a lot of smiles. The performers were Malini, of course. Janardhan performed, Shamarani spoke. I filled in all the gaps. There's never any dead time. There was one period where Rasika was tuning up with some band members for a live kirtan, which ended up being absolutely incredible. But it took them the better part of a half an hour to get all their sound check done and everything. So I probably did 3 or 4 songs in that time, one after another, taking advantage of the lag to keep the patter going, not to have any dead space there. Then there was a group called the Shakti Theater. I don't know why they use the word theater. It's a little confusing at first because I kept asking Julia, what drama are you going to do? I said, no drama, they're just another singing bhajan group. And then in the end, the last hour or so, they had Banu, who was a DJ with Krishna Consciousness songs. So I just jumped in on top of her whenever I felt like it, did the Hanuman song, did the Shiksha Shtakam version of it, just whenever I felt like it. And interestingly enough, at 4 o'clock, the last the festival went from 11 to 4. At 4 o'clock, my experience is at 4 o'clock, generally there's very few people left. Most people come and gone. But in this case, there was still 50, 60 people. And we went ahead and had a 4 o'clock color throw, and people wanted to dance. People wanted to stay. And so the music went on for another 15 minutes. Of course, your permit goes till 4, so you're obliged to stop, but couldn't resist going for another 15 minutes. And then appeal went out from myself for everyone to pick up trash. And if they wanted to help more, they could approach Sri Lokanath for that purpose. And then some of the performers just sang some bhajans and more or less serenaded people during the cleanup. I was hijacked. They wouldn't let me do the cleanup. I'd been there since 7:30 this morning. They figured, True, you've done enough. Go and rest. So they hijacked me, gave me a plate of prashadam, took me back to the Airbnb. But then after a couple of hours, I got a text message from Jagannath. They need you. They're having a wrap up, a debriefing at the temple. So can I come and get you? I said, absolutely. And he said, by the way, there would be ice cream there. So I walked in the middle of the debriefing. Shamarani was speaking, Vrindavan Chandra. They gave me a seat up front, and we went over everything. There were maybe 75 of the key organizers there. They talked about what went well, talked about how to improve it, and they talked about having a second annual festival in northern Miami as well. There were a couple of young, good-looking men here who were reputed to be good preachers, and they've been encouraged to shadow me throughout the day so that they could learn from me what to do. But neither one of them seemed particularly inclined to do what I do. I don't know why. Maybe I'm just too far out. I don't know. But they did not shadow me. I had nobody shadowing me. So the general conclusion was that they would just have to bring me back for the foreseeable future until such time as anybody local who had natural incipient talent decided to follow me around and pump me, squeeze me for information. That was the inaugural festival in Fort Lauderdale. Wonderful, vibrant community, loving community. I've never seen anything quite like that. I'm just envious in a very transcendental way of everything they've been able to do there. There are amazing things in future, and if they call me and give me a ticket, I will definitely come to soak up some of that nectar and get some of the dust from the feet of the devotees there. We're hosting here in Salt Lake City Chaitanya Charan today and tomorrow. He will be flying in and being picked up by Ras Vilas sometime during the day, and he'll be staying at Ras Vilas. He'll be at the temple from 6 to 8 this evening and from 6 to 8 tomorrow. And I hope to persuade him to come on board here tomorrow for our Bhagavatam discussion. This will be Transcendental Tuesday. So stay tuned for that, a heads up for that. And then he'll be again in the temple tomorrow evening, Tuesday evening from 6 to 8. Then he's flying to Los Angeles or somewhere else like that. So please come if you're physically able to. Otherwise, I'm sure they'll live stream it as well. So in the time that's remaining to us here this morning, let's pick up our discussion. And we've been at least 20 times revisiting the pastimes and the character of Ambarish Maharaj. And let's talk about his commitment. You know, he was a sovereign over the entire earth, Saptadvipa. He had lordship as the king of the 7 continents, beautiful wife, beautiful children. There were no dissenters in his kingdom. Everybody was Krishna conscious. Everybody revealed him, worshiped him, saw him as a spiritual father and a guru. Couldn't have had a more ideal material situation. And yet underneath all of that, his commitment was ultimately to the lotus feet of Krishna. It is said, seek first the kingdom of God and everything else will come. That is the priority of those who have their priorities right. And for those who put on a show of devotion, there's going to be some big unpleasant surprises pop up for them at the time of leaving this material body. It's said in Kapil Bhagavatam, 5th canto, when he's talking to his mother. Now, Kapil is the son, Devahuti is the mother, the father had been Kardama Muni. Though all of this grew out of a family unit. Tatacha Jaham Paribodha Kama Samanasam Grimeram Payavam Manamishanam Griha. Darasa Kamada Kamgrasha. Kardama had been doing penance and austerities as a solitary ascetic. And he came to the point where he felt he could increase his Krishna consciousness by getting a wife. And so he prayed to Krishna, Tata to come Kamirura. I would like to get a wife who will be a veritable cow of plenty in married life. It's a fact that a man can only do so much and a woman can only do so much. If you imagine a man can do it one and a woman can do one and one is two. But it's often the case when the right man and the right woman combine in matrimony, a multiplication takes place. It's not just adding one to make two. A multiplication takes place. It's not just adding one to make two. Multiplication takes place. I have no idea what happened there. One to make two. Multiplication. Okay. I have no idea what happened there. One to make two. Multiplication. Okay. I have no idea what happened. I have no idea what happened there. I have no idea what happened there. Okay. Okay, there's one of them anyway, taken care of. Thanks for joining us, by the way, Gene and Rob there as well. Kardamuni Muni recognized this principle that when a man and a woman get together in the banner under the aegis of Krishna consciousness, there's a multiplication that takes place. And so he said, Tatasha kamam paribodha manasamanasanam grimenam pevam manasham darasha kamaramaras. And he took the humble position. He said, I know it's born of a dissatisfaction. I'm not completely happy on my own doing penance in Krishna consciousness. I feel myself incomplete. And so I would like to partner with a member of the opposite sex. I would like to have a spouse so we could side by side. And in a complementary way, we have male attributes and you have female attributes. And when they're combined in the service of the Lord, creates an ideal domestic situation. So he felt that he acknowledged that he had some lusty desires. He had some feelings of loneliness. He wanted a companion, but he wanted a Krishna conscious companion. He wasn't going to settle with just any female, but he asked Lord Krishna for a very special female, and he got Devahuti. And the marriage of Kardamuni and Devahuti was so auspicious, fortuitous, that they had as an offspring none other than the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Kapila Muni, as their son. After the appearance of Kapila Muni, Kardamuni Muni felt that he had achieved the purpose of married life, and then he went back to his solitary practice, leaving Devahuti with her son, whom she accepted as her guru. Tasya tam tamasho dishpada shakchakadu labdhumetvada nukanam. She said to her son, you're not just my son, physically born from my body, but you are my transcendental I. And I have achieved your vision. I have achieved your guidance, your direction after many, many years of pious living. And so please tell me, what are the priorities of life? To what I should dedicate myself in order to be successful? Kapila Dev is the offspring of a father and a mother of a domestic situation. And yet he's saying that if you prioritize the family, if you prioritize the marriage and the kids, you're not going to get the fruit of love of God. Yatai kamashmika kamata shuteshu darashu yatpinja sanketa vidvam yatna shrameya kevalam. He said, if you're in Krishna consciousness, you might be chanting, you might be donating, you might be visiting the temple once a week, you might even have a whole heart. But if you're not committed to the level that Ambarish was, he also, along parallel lines, maintained family and influence and businesses. But his commitment, his ultimate commitment, was not to the family, not to the children, not to the wife, not even to the worldwide kingdom, but his commitment was Krishna consciousness. When he would get the clarion call, because underlying everything that he did in a temporary sense, underlying all of his execution of his conditional duties, he was alert at all times for the constitutional call, that when Krishna would call him to drop everything, go back to God, he would do that. Another example along these lines was Kadbanga. Kadbanga was also a very powerful king. He was approached at one point by Indra and the demigods to assist them in fighting against the demons, even though he was not of the demigod status. Nevertheless, his prowess, his martial arts skills were so formidable that demigods felt that they would not be able to overcome the demons without his help. So he fought for them for many years. And they defeated. Their cause was successful. The demons were once again pushed down to the planets at the bottom of the universe. The demigods are so grateful to Mars Kadbanga. They said, we want to give you a boon, anything you want. You want your own planet, you want unlimited wealth, you want whatever you want. Kadbanga asked, all I want is to know how much longer I have to live. The demigod said, it's interesting you asked that because you only have a few moments to live. Kadbanga, he immediately transferred his consciousness to the ultimate profit, the ultimate wealth, the ultimate achievement of being absorbed in thoughts of Krishna at the time of death. He was able to do that within a second. Now, you can't do something like that without a lifelong commitment to Krishna consciousness. Moment in moment, you have to be constantly living in the awareness, this is all temporary. At any second, my body could be wrestled away from me, my wife, my wealth, my opulence. At any second, this could all be whisked away. And then what are you going to do? Are you going to be traumatized? Are you going to go into shock? Are you going to be unprepared? Not those who are deeply committed to Krishna consciousness. This is the moment for which they've been preparing their whole lives. Within a second, Maharaj Kadbanga was able to divest his mind of all thoughts of family, friends, children, country, and totally take shelter at the lotus feet of Krishna. This level of devotion are called swans, Hansa. Swan can go into the stem of a lotus flower and just take the nectar, the milk, which is inside the lotus flower. There are many other elements which are less valuable and less wanted, but the essence of the lotus flower is the milk, or the buds of the lotus flower are very tasty. The swan knows how to go in there and get that which is most nectarine, most nourishing. Another feature of the swan is that in a mixture of milk and water, swan knows how to extract only the milk, leaving aside the water. Maharaj Kadbanga never lost sight of his priorities throughout all of the potential distractions of sovereignty and fatherhood and husbandhood. He had a level of commitment so that at the last moment, the fag end of life, he was able to instantaneously transfer himself to Krishna consciousness. Now, you should take stock. If you're married, if you have children, you need to take inventory. You need to assess exactly where your consciousness is, because if your concerns, if your anxieties, if your priorities are pretty much the same as those who are non-devotees, same things alarm you, the same things push your buttons, the same things cause your heart to pitter patter, then what is the use of your having chanted rounds, gone to the temple and associated with devotees? What is the practical benefit? The benefit is meant to be that you're able to very easily transition from the temporary to the eternal, from the conditional to the constitutional. Devotees, real devotees, committed devotees, are always prepared to give up their bodies at a moment's notice. And none of them fall into the illusory mentality that what I'm experiencing now, the beautiful chatter of children and attention of my wife and the adulation of the citizenry, none of them is so foolish as to think that that will continue on and on and on and on. We do our duties, all of us, recognizing that they're temporary. They're not all in all. And the meaning of practicing mystic yoga, especially bhakti yoga, is to at the same time as executing one's duties expertly, diligently, conscientiously, one must become detached from those relationships at the same time. And if in spite of practicing bhakti yoga, one is fearful, one is anxious about giving up this body, which is full of worms and parasites and viruses and bacteria, this body which is the cause of our suffering, then what is the use of all of our attempts to advance in spiritual life? The secret of success in practicing bhakti yoga or Krishna consciousness is to become free from bodily attachment. Before we went on our little break, we talked about two recent examples, that of Kadamba Kanaswami, who spent the last 8 or 10 months of his life body ravaged by cancer, but always a smile on his face, concerned more for others than for himself, never had a pity party, never thought, boo-hoo, it's unfair, embraced the transition of death with all vim and vigor and vitality. And when I see someone like that successfully transferring, dropping this unwanted, temporary, obnoxious material body with enthusiasm, with expectancy, with excitement about getting their eternal spiritual body, and the example that he sets ignites me, it challenges me, it inspires me also to do my very best to serve God and Guru in this life, what little time I have left. I'm also 76. Kadamba Kanaswami left at 68, which is relatively, he's just a youngster from my point of view. So my time is short, but I want to be with him and people like him in the spiritual world. I don't want to linger around in this material world. I have a wife, I have 2 temples, I have a congregation, I have loving friends and associates, I have students, I have peers, I have godbrothers, I have superiors. There's a lot here that's sweet and engaging and absorbing, but at the same time, if I have a commitment to Krishna consciousness, my ultimate commitment, my ultimate priority is keeping the dust of the lotus feet of those who have gone before us within view. And I want to go back to home, back to Godhead. I want to meet up again with Kadamba Swami. Another devotee that passed away in Vrindavan recently is named Dhritarashtra Prabhu. He was also diagnosed with cancer throughout his entire body, passed up on radiation, passed up on chemotherapy, never took more than an aspirin. And the reports are that he passed away chanting Hare Krishna with a smile on his face, eager and excited and expectant about the doors, the vistas, the panoramas that are going to open up before that devotee who has had a lifelong commitment to Krishna consciousness. In the Bible, it is said, seek first the kingdom of God. Seek first the goodness, seek first to trust God, seek first to be in the association of those who have gone before you. Sri Rupa Raghunatha Pade Yaibeya Kuti. Every chapter of the Krishnadas Kavirajas Chaitanya Samrita ends with the statement, Sri Rupa Raghunatha Pade, yet let me always advance, let me always progress at the pace, at the miles per hour, by which I will never lose sight of the dust of the lotus feet of my spiritual master. If I can't catch up to them, which is impossible, at least let me not fall back. If they're going 60, let me have my cruise control at 60 so that I can always or never, let's say, lose sight of the vision of the dust of their lotus feet. When Krishna left Vrindavan, it broke the hearts of the gopis. And as is the custom in Vedic hospitality, you remain watching the departure of your guests until there's no sight of anything. If the guest is leaving on a chariot, and the chariot has a flag, maybe a 15-foot high flag, you stand and you watch that chariot until you can no longer discriminate the body of your guest and the body of their driver. You can no longer see the chariot with any detailed description or the horses. It's distant enough that you cannot make out any details. And eventually the chariot itself will go over a little hill or recede from the scan or scope of your vision, but then that flag will be there. And on top of that pole will be there, and then the flag. And that flag you may see long after the chariot and the rider and the charioteer disappear. You remain watching until you can no longer see the flag on the top of the pole of the chariot. It said that the gopis, when Krishna was being taken to Mathura by a Krura, Yavato alakshita ketu yavato renu ratasya cham. They remained until they could no longer see the flag. Now, beyond the flag, there's another thing. It is the dust risen, disturbed, and rising up from the hood. When you can no longer see the flag in the distance, for some minutes or seconds, you will continue to see the dust in the distance raised by the hooves of the chariot. So the gopis stood like statues until they could no longer distinguish Krishna. They could no longer distinguish the chariot. They could no longer distinguish the flag. They stayed until they could no longer even see the dust from the chariot. This is prioritizing. This is the emblem of perfection in Krishna consciousness. Said, set first your heart on God's kingdom. Set first your heart on his goodness. Don't lose sight of that in all of the potential distractions of raising a family and pursuing a career and providing and being a good citizen. Keep your eye on the target. Keep your eye on the goal. Do not forget that we're meant to go over the horizon. We cannot stay here, whether we like it or not. We're meant to follow in the footsteps of those who have gone before us. In our version of the Bhagavad Gita, which Radharani liked very much, there's a couple of passages here. Because I create the dual worlds of spirit and flesh, the wise prioritize my service, keeping their hearts forever fresh. Krishna sits on the lotus of our heart. So if we want to keep our hearts fresh, we have to prioritize Krishna consciousness. As important as it is to serve your country, to serve your family, to serve your wife, to serve your relatives, to serve your citizenry, those things are never to be neglected, and they're certainly important. They should not be sitting on the core of the lotus of your heart. Krishna, that place is reserved for Krishna. So when you prioritize Krishna's service, then what happens is you keep your heart forever fresh. My pure devotees think of me and follow me all the time, discussing me incessantly. I am theirs and they are mine. Because they serve with love and never swerve aside from within their hearts, I cause ignorance to subside. The wattage of transcendental knowledge, I shine from within so bright, and in deep parental affection, I guide them to the light. We'll finish off here today on Motivational Monday with this quote from a Back to Godhead article written by, I believe, Kundali. It says here, the association with other devotees of God, and especially with saintly persons who can teach the message of love of Krishna, is extremely important for one who is serious about spiritual advancement. Without the sort of association that centers of such Krishna consciousness will provide, it is very difficult to maintain the high standards required for spiritual perfection in a world given over largely to material sense gratification, garbed occasionally is true in the hypocrite's cloak of materialistic, ritualistic, or traditional religion. Prabhupada established ISKCON, the International Society of Krishna Consciousness, so that like-minded spiritualists can come together and glean strength from numbers. And finally, it may seem romantic to be a solitary spiritual practitioner, but there are countless tales of such seekers succumbing to wealth and women and retreating from the spiritual paths. In Krishna consciousness, however, neither wealth nor women are stumbling blocks, because everything and everyone can be used in the service of the Lord. Happy are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Pure in heart means I'm continually conscious of Krishna's presence. I'm content with Krishna's praise. I'm controlled by Krishna's priorities. The more mature you are, the more advanced you are in spiritual life, the more that you're conscious that Krishna is with you all the time. And the more that you're committed to following the footsteps of the great ones who have gone before you, back to home, back to God. More on this on Wednesday. We may have a little shift in emphasis tomorrow when we hopefully host our guest from Bombay, from India, Chaitanya Charan, also known as the spiritual scientist, author of 25 books or so, world tours the world preaching, enlightening others. He's in town from this afternoon on, and he'll be talking this evening and tomorrow evening from 6 to 8 at the temple in Salt Lake City, as well as hopefully on this forum here with me tomorrow morning. Thanks for jumping on after some time. John Malik, Shali, Hare Krishna. She says, happy to have these lessons back, and your trip sounded like so much fun. It was indeed. Jean, thanks for jumping on. And all the way from Santa Cruz, Bolivia, Brent Spencer. Are you there also, Rob?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Haribo, nice to be back with you.
It's nice to be back as well. Definitely miss these classes. It's such a wonderful way to start the week.
I miss them too. I look forward to resuming them. Did you jot down any takeaways per chance?
I was able to get a few.
Can you share them and send them to me by email also afterwards?
Yes, Prabhuji. So 1 + 1 is 3 with a pious plea.
Nice.
Chant with every breath and remember Krishna at your death.
Uh-huh.
Turn from the conditional, embrace the transcendental.
Mm-hmm.
Drop the temporary, serve exemplary.
Serve the exemplary. That's nice. Yeah, that's good. That's really good.
That was all I got this time.
Can you play around with the word commitment a little bit? See if anything pops up.
I can try and work on something.
Yeah, see what rhymes with commitment. See if anything comes up. If not, it's fine. But just a thought.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Thank you for those. I'll look forward to incorporating them in our notes and to being with you all tomorrow, hopefully with Chaitanya Charan joining us as well. In the meantime, have a wonderful Krishna conscious day. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.